We're now going to be multiplying and dividing fractions and decimals. With the fractions, it's not the same as adding and subtracting. There's no need to find a common denominator. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking to cross cancel. So notice that the 3 and the 5, there's nothing we could cancel, but with the 2 and the 4, we can. Notice that with the 2, 2 goes into 2 one time, and 2 goes into 4 two times. Now what we're going to do is we're going to multiply across. 1 times 3 is 3. 5 times 2 is 10. So our answer is 3/10. Now, if we're looking at the division, it's a little bit different. And I've heard some junior high teachers say keep, change, and flip. What that means is that you keep the first fraction, you change the sign, and you flip the second fraction. So that means we have the 5/14. We're going to change it to multiplication, and that becomes 7/2. Now we're going to look to see what we could cancel. Notice that the 5 and the 2 can't cancel. 2 doesn't go into 5, 5 doesn't go into 2. But we know that the 7 and the 14. 7 goes into 7 one time. 7 goes into 14 two times. Now we're going to multiply across. 5 times 1 is 5. 2 times 2 is 4. This is an improper fraction. I'm going to turn it into a mixed number. 4 goes into 5 one time with a remainder of 1. So it's 1 and 1/4. Looking at our third one, we have two mixed numbers. We're going to change them into improper fractions. Notice that's multiplication, so it's going to be similar to the first one that we did. There's no flipping involved. We're going to change them into improper fractions. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 3 is 23. We're going to look to see if there's anything that we could cancel. 4 doesn't go into 23, but we notice that the 5s. What we can do is we can cancel the 5s. So 5 and 5. 1 times 23 is 23. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 goes into 23 5 times with a remainder of 3 because 4 times 5 is 20. And so we have 3, and we're talking about fourths, so it's 5 3/4. What I want you to do is just pause the video, try the next 3 on your own, and see how you do. So let's look at these 3. Notice that we have division. So we're going to remember the keep, change, flip. So we're going to keep the first fraction. We're going to change it to multiplication. And we're flipping the second fraction to 5/3. 5 and 3, 5 and 6. There is nothing that we could cancel. So we multiply across 25 over 18. Once again, I'm going to change it into a mixed number. So 18 goes into 25 one time with a remainder of 7. And just as a reminder, whenever we have a fraction where the numerator is more than the denominator, that's when it's improper. So notice that with our first one, 3/10, 3 is less than 10. That's why we have just a normal fraction, not an improper fraction. With this next one, we're going to cancel the 5 and the 10, 1 and 2. We're going to cancel the 3 and the 9, 1 and 3. We're going to multiply across. 1 times 1 gives us 1. 3 times 2 gives us 6. Now, looking at our next one, it's division. So we know we're going to keep, change, flip. But I need to change the mixed number into an improper fraction. 9 times 3 is 27, plus 4 is 31. I'm going to change it to multiplication. I'm going to flip my second fraction to 3/2. I'm going to see if there's anything I could cancel. 31 and 2 is no. 3 and 9 is yes. So this becomes a 1. The 9 becomes a 3 because 3 can go into 9 3 times. 31 times 1 is 31. 3 times 2 gives me 6. This is an improper fraction. I'm going to change it to a mixed number. 6 goes into 31 5 times. And it has a remainder of 1. So it's 5 1/6. That right there would be the fractions with the multiplying and dividing. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at the decimals. Once again, adding and subtracting, multiplying and dividing have different rules for decimals. So when we're multiplying or dividing, we're not lining up the decimals. With multiplying, we're just going to write the two numbers, 7.1 and 42. We're going to multiply them. We're going to multiply the 2 and the 1, which gives us 2, the 2 and the 7, which gives us 14. Because this is a 40, we're going to put a 0 for the placeholder so that 4 times 1 is technically 40, not just 4. 4 times 7 is 28. And now we're going to add the two numbers, 2, 8, 9, and 2. Now this is the tricky part. We have to figure out where the decimal goes. So we're going to look at each of the numbers and see where the decimal is located. Here the decimal is in the tenths, so it's 1 spot. Here there is no decimal, so that would be 0. We add those two numbers up and we get 1. We always start at the end of the number and we're moving it 1 spot. So that means our final answer is 298.2. Now, looking at the next one, what we're going to do is we're going to divide. Now, when we're dividing, we're going to use long division, 1.6, and we get 10.24. Now, with dividing, what we're going to do is we're going to change our decimal divisor, and we're going to move the decimal to the right one, meaning we do the exact same thing for the dividend. And then we put it up here for the quotient. Now we're going to see how many times does 16 go into 102. And 16 goes into 102, I think 6 times. Let's try it out. 6 times 6 is 36. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 3 is 9. So 96 works. Remember, we always want it less than the number. 102 minus 96 gives us 6. I bring down the 4. 16 goes into 64. I know this one. It's 4. And so my answer is 6.4. Now, we're going to be looking at multiplication. So we have the 5.81, and we're going to times the 2.9. Remember, we're not lining up the decimals. That's only with adding and subtracting. 9 times 1 is 9. 9 times 8 is 27. 9 times 5 is 45. Plus 7 is 52. I'm going to put a 0 for the placeholder. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 8 is 16. 2 times 5 is 10. That would be 11. I have 9, 4, 8, 6, 1. Now, I'm going to look for the decimals. This right here is 2 places. This right here is 1 place for a total of 3 places. Remember, we always start at the back of the number. We're going to move it 3 decimal places. So my final answer is 16.849. What I want you to do is take a few moments, try those next three, and see how you do. So looking at 12.4 divided by 4. I have the 4. I'm using long division, 12.4. 4 goes into 12 3 times. Put the decimal for the quotient. And then I bring down the 4. 4 goes into 4 1 time. So my answer is 3.1. For the multiplication, I have the 9.1. I'm timesing 8.4. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 9 is 36. Put a 0 for the placeholder. 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 9 is 72. I have 4, 14, 5, 6, and 7. This is one decimal place. This is one decimal place. That's a total of 2 decimal places. Start at the end, move 2 decimal places. So my final answer is 76.44. Now, when we're looking at our last one, what we have is 0.23 divided by 103.73. Remember, first thing that we're going to do is we're going to move the decimal place over 2. So we're going to move the decimal place over 2. And I'm going to see how many times does 23 go into 103. And I think it's 4. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 2 is 8, 9, so that's 92, so that worked. When I subtract them, I get 11. I bring down the 7. So 23 goes into 117. I'm going to try 5 times. That gives me 15, 10, 11. So that's 115. When I subtract it, I get a 2. I bring down the 3. This one right here is a little bit easier because 23 goes into 23 one time. So my final answer is 451.